Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 64. In this episode, I will be talking with Vera Bloom. Vera is a powerhouse rocker, and she has a new single that was released on the 23rd called Breathe. Vera and I talked about her new single, her album that will be coming out in a few months, and just her journey as an artist. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss this episode. By the way, at the end, you get a sneak preview of her new song. I know you're not going to want to miss it. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm glad you're here. Today's guest is Vera Bloom. Vera, thanks so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself to be ordinary or badass?
Badass.
Have you always felt that way?
No, definitely not. And I still don't, sometimes, but I have a funny story with the word badass.
Yeah, sure.
In 8th grade, I was playing guitar for the jazz band and we were playing a school assembly. And afterward, I was walking to class and then this girl stops me and she's like, "That was so badass." And that was the first time I had been called badass. So I didn't know if it was good or bad.
Uh-huh.
It's comprised of like bad and ass. So I was like, I don't think you, but I soon learned after that that's a good thing.
Awesome. And I love that you just own it, like rather than, kind of going back and forth, you're just like, yeah, I'm badass. So,
yeah.
So Vera, will you tell us what? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm from the Pacific Northwest originally, a small town called Kingston outside of Seattle. And then I went to school in Boston and afterward bounced around in like LA to New York City before landing in Nashville. I've been here for almost 4 years doing music. And yeah, I play rock music. This is my debut thing right now. Previously, I was doing a different project that kind of fell apart, but it was meant to be. And yeah. So I'm just here doing the thing, trying to make the music career happen. And I'm really excited for my upcoming release.
That's so awesome. So how did you start playing music or how did you get into music?
It started with classical piano and then that kind of like translated into writing songs and like wanting to break away from the structure of classical, music and whatever. And then I found the guitar and that is what really like freed me up because, I found my writing instrument and that was guitar. And I've just been kind of needing to write music ever since. Yeah.
So tell us about your album that's coming out soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It means a lot to me. It's a 6-track EP of music that I've written since like the dismantling of my old band, which was more like Southern rock. And this one is more like alternative rock with like 90s elements and whatever, which is really true to me. And so it's my most authentic piece of work that I've done to date. So I'm really, really excited about that. And there's a lot of emotion in it. It's about breakups between romantic partners and even breaking up with myself and with like professional things. And And also just I've had like my first panic attack and, bouts with anxiety and mental health. And there's a lot of that. And it has a lot to do with just badassery, which is pretty relatable to this podcast and what you're doing. It's just really about finding yourself and believing in yourself and just like taking off with that,
Yeah. And I love that. I think that oftentimes people think like, oh, a badass is one thing, but you're supposed to be tough and hardcore. But it's like, we're all human, we're all going to have anxiety or stress or things that like get to us, but it's the pushing through it that is the badass part to me.
Absolutely.
Have you found anything to help you deal with your anxiety?
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things that people think is so badass about me is that I ride motorcycles. And so riding really is therapy for me. And it's the closest thing I've found that just brings me like in the moment, it's just you and the road. And, if you're riding with someone, so it can really be centering. And it's also a huge, source of community for me. I ride with a group out here called the Belladonnas, and it's just the coolest women that I've ever met, and we come from all different places and career paths and whatever. And that's our one common thing. And it's just the best thing ever. So it's a huge source of support, and it's like therapy, the whole thing. So yeah, that would be my go-to.
Earlier, you talked a little bit about breaking up with yourself. Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, in one of my songs, one of the lyrics is like shedding your skin and shedding off an older version of yourself. And I think that can be scary because it kind of feels like, like imposter syndrome, maybe, when you're trying to recreate yourself. It's not about faking anything. It's just about choosing things that are better for you. And like growing up, your tastes change, you like different things. And a lot of people, that know you from a different time in your life kind of think of you one way. And sometimes it's hard to mentally just be like, put your foot down and be like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm choosing to grow. I'm choosing to become something new and better and something that is more authentic to how I feel inside.
Yeah. And I imagine that can be hard. It's hard for anybody, but then if you're also like in the music industry, it might be hard to put your foot down to a producer, people that you're working with. How have you found yourself able to kind of follow your true north or what your intuition is telling you?
The biggest thing has been time and experience. Like I've definitely fallen into the trap of kind of going in a direction that wasn't me. And I didn't know it wasn't me at the time, but then you just kind of start resenting the people you work with and resenting yourself and ultimately just becoming unhappy. And so kind of like had to sever the ties or whatever the phrase is, and just push forward. And I just have to believe in how I'm feeling and like, do I like this? Do I not like this? And sometimes my biggest compass is, do I like it or do I not like it? If I don't like it, which is often easier to know, you just kind of start there and try different things. I know that's a pretty general description, but that's kind of my thing is, does it feel good? Do I like it? How do I feel like gut feeling inside? And if it's a no, then I know to try to look somewhere else. That's kind of my biggest compass, not moral, but like guiding source. Right.
So what's one of the hardships that you faced to get to where you are today? And I ask that because oftentimes kind of from the outside, it seems like people have the perfect life or everything was so easy to get to where they are. But it's kind of cool to see the flip side, to see some of the hardships you've overcome to get to where you are.
Yeah. The whole process has been like kind of emotionally and mentally draining. Like it's a lot of work to put out a piece of music. But that's just hard work. Some of my best songs though came from hard places, like being in a bad relationship, and having to just be brave and get out of that. And yeah, like my first thing with, well, that's kind of, they're two different songs, but they're kind of all related, those two songs that are about this relationship, you know, and it's like, it's my panic attack song is called Breathe, and that's my first single that I'm releasing in a couple weeks. And that was when I was in the midst of this relationship and I didn't know how unhappy I was. And I think then I had this anxiety, and I learned how to push through that. And that was really a time in my life. This was like a year and a half ago. That was a time in my life when I really like was the only person in the world that could take care of myself in that moment. And so as distressing as it was and like awful, I was my ally and I was my best friend and I was there for myself. And so that was a hardship that it was kind of an indicator light, like engine light going off in a way. I was like, I need to change my life. So I did, yeah. But the result of it is some awesome music, you know? And so yeah, it's like a lotus in the pond, I guess you could say.
And I love how you said, like, you were the only person in the world that could take care of yourself. I'm a believer that we have everything we need within us, but it's so easy to turn to like an alternative, whether it's like drugs or alcohol or just something to numb us from the pain that we're going through. So yeah, I love that you said that.
Yeah, thank you. It's a learning process. And even with putting out music, you know, I have a team of people, but as a woman in this industry, it's easy to like rely on, at the time I was relying on my boyfriend, like, oh, you know, like maybe I should get a band together. And then he was a drummer. And so it was like, it's kind of like, he was like, yeah, let me call my friends instead of me just taking charge and being like, but now I've learned a lot, you know, take charge, take your own reins. You can do it.
Yes. So what do you do to get more confident, or if you feel like you're lacking confidence, what do you do to kind of boost that?
It's like so day by day, you know, like sometimes I'm like on top of the world and then the next day I'll be like,
that's life, right?
Yeah, I think I actually just kind of take a step back and witness myself in a way, like how I'm feeling, and just remember that yesterday I felt like the queen. And so even though I'm not feeling that way right now, doesn't change anything. Like nothing has changed except for how I feel. So I kind of just disconnect from myself in a way and keep doing what I know I need to be doing, but just let myself feel the way that I feel, and just know that after a good night's sleep or something, I'm going to feel different tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just kind of wait it out. That's kind of what I've learned to do.
Do you think that after you made the decision to get out of the unhealthy relationship and kind of to go on your own musically, do you think that you got more confidence after that?
Yeah, I think I did. I think at first I was kind of like, ooh, am I doing the right thing? You know, but ultimately, yeah, I've never felt more proud, or, you know, it's mine. And I'm really, and I have a really great support system in place now because I disconnected from something that was holding me back, you know?
Yeah. So what was your hardest song to write on the album?
I'm not sure. They all just kind of flow out of me. The hardest song to perform live, I guess, would be, there's a song called Thaw and Freeze, and that one's really about, it's about my life and how I just feel like it was after a breakup, not the one that I was talking about earlier. It's like, we could go on and on, but it was, it was about a breakup, and I just felt like I was in this cycle of just, you know, couldn't get out of like, you think you're so in love and then you like fall out of it and you're right back where you started. And so it's like, I've gone from coast to coast, you know, I've gone so far, like physically in life, yet emotionally, I'm just like or romantically, just right back where I started, you know, and it's just a constant cycle of, and I felt like I was just thawing and freezing over and over again. So that was really emotional for me. And like, that one took a while to be able to like play out live, you know, without almost crying. And I actually do cry a lot if it's too much, you know, but
yeah, but I think sometimes that makes it more relatable. Like if you're feeling the emotion as you're going through it, other people can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is one I think that people do relate to.
So what is your creative process for like coming up with music?
I don't have like a set process. I do know that I can feel when things are building up in me, and I just kind of pick up the guitar. Well, I'm always constantly jotting down lines and lyrics and like things I want to write about. You know, I have in my notes on my iPhone, just tons of little bits and pieces. A lot of them don't come into like fruition, but so I'll just kind of sit down with usually my acoustic guitar and just start and then I don't know, piece by piece it just kind of comes out, and I'll usually have like the structure of the song in an hour, and then I'll sit with it and I'll change, you know, I have that gut feeling when I know like something's not right, like this is a placeholder for now, I know I have to change that and whatnot. So I guess it's just kind of a natural, fluid, but also constant thing. You know, I'm constantly writing, even though I'm not actually sitting down and writing. It's just, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting how you say that you like capture stuff on your phone or whatever, because I do the same thing, whether it's for the podcast or for like a blog post or just something that I'm creating. I think it's important to capture it because you'll forget it otherwise. And like you said, even if you don't end up using it, it's fine. At least you just captured it just in case.
Because you will 100% forget. Even if you're like, oh, I'll remember that. There's no way I'll forget. It'll be gone if you don't write it down.
And you could have the world's best idea, you know, and it's gone if you don't document it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you do anything? I know sometimes people like cross train, so to speak, creatively, like not like if they're into music, then they do writing, or that you do some like different forms of different things just to spark your creativity. Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like even motorcycle riding is a way for me to kind of clear up space for creative flow and stuff. And it's also a nice opportunity for me to kind of just like chew on songs and or like kind of work on arrangements in my head or whatever. Cause that's just, my mind is just totally like, I wouldn't say it's clear, you know, I like think about a ton of things when I'm writing, but that's kind of the point is I'm not distracted by my phone. I'm not, you know, because it's just you and the bike and you're just, that's it. And so when you're not distracted by usually like typically it's the internet.
Yes.
You know, you have a lot of space up there to just, you know, think and utilize that however you want to. And so I think that really helps me.
So how was the transition for you when you moved to Nashville? And I guess it could be a transition when you move to any new state since you've done a lot of moving around, but.
Yeah, this one was a pretty big one for me. I had been in New York in the city for 2 years and then up like just above the city in Poughkeepsie for 2 years. And I've been dabbling in music. You know, I kind of, when I first moved to New York City, I was just like, I'm not doing music anymore. I was so burnt out and I didn't really like, I hadn't found myself as a person at all yet, you know?
Right.
And so, and then 2 years after like working in a restaurant in like a kitchen too, which is really hard work, I picked up my guitar and started writing again. And then that kind of like got the wheels going and I like formed a band with some guys that I went to school with and, but nothing ever like settled and felt right. And then I moved out of the city and I was still trying to do this songwriter thing and it just wasn't it. And so I know some people or knew some people down in Nashville. One of my best friends lives down here and I was like, I'm going. And so packed up and went and I left behind a relationship. So that was also another thing like, here we go again, you know, but It's weird. This is my first time living in the South. So it's kind of a culture shock. I'm very coastal, and being from so much water up in the Pacific Northwest and having lived in like New York and Boston, I just love water. And it's always been up north. So it's been, I like Nashville now. It took me a while to love it because I'm not like super into country stuff, and
Yeah.
whatever, but I found my rock scene and I found my people and like
Nice.
I'm in a good place now. It only took like 3 years, but
do you think that Nashville is good for people with any different type of music, or is it mostly country, or they just have different pockets in different areas?
Yeah, there are definitely different pockets, and I would say like any pocket. But the biggest one it's definitely country, but I would say more than country. Like it's very country for tourist stuff too, but it's just a songwriting factory. Like there's tons of co-writing going on and writing and studio, tracking music and whatever. I'm not part of that scene, but I know a ton of great people who are, and ultimately it's full of really nice people, I think. I mean,
Right.
It can get a little cliquey, but I don't know, I found my clique, so I feel okay.
Right.
But
Yeah.
No, it's a good diverse, and it's getting better and better in my opinion.
So what would you say to the woman who loves music, but isn't sure, if she can really make it or she should continue on?
Yeah, I would say find what lights a fire under your ass and just do it, and don't be hard on yourself, because sometimes it takes time to figure out what that is, like what even lights the fire under your ass. For me, it's like rock music. Like I just want to scream on stage, but I also want to like write really moving lyrics and whatever, but I had to find my mix of stuff. It was like my composition basically of my different materials.
Right. And so you kind of went from piano to guitar, and then was it then that you kind of transitioned to alternative, or how did that go?
Actually it was, so I was kind of stuck with the acoustic guitar because I was just accompanying myself, and I have electric guitars and I always wanted to play it, but I had in my mind like, oh, by myself, to accompany myself with acoustic. And then I started playing music with a girl I met up in Poughkeepsie, New York. We met through riding motorcycles, and I started playing with her, and she took my place on acoustic guitar, and so that kind of freed me up to start playing lead electric. And so that was the beginning, I think, of like less folk, more rock. But it kind of, I had to like get into like, oh, so we're just folk rock, southern rock, like, oh, and then I dropped the acoustic because her and I stopped playing together, and now I'm just like full on electric guitar rock. But now with quarantine, I'm trying to figure out, because I'm gonna be doing more solo stuff again. And so I think it'll translate, now that I have the new music I really love, I think it will translate into acoustic just fine. It'll just be like unplugged.
Yeah. And I think part of it is probably kind of what you're saying is it's just a journey. Like if you just have to keep messing around, seeing what works for you, and you might like something or just tweak it a little bit. Exactly. And I don't know that for music specifically, because I cannot sing, but I just know like creatively or anything, you just have to keep kind of tweak, or I don't know. I don't want to say hacking away, but keep going after it and then tweaking it as you go. Has that been true for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a pretty like emotional journey, but that's great for songwriting. So
yeah. So
yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. What's one thing that you want us to know about your upcoming album?
That if you like 90s grunge rock, and even more than that, you're gonna love it, and it means a lot to me. These songs do. This is a really important debut for me, but I think it's great music. Personally, I'm the most biased person about it, but
no, I love
it. Yeah. I look forward to releasing it.
When does your single release, and then when does your album release?
My first one, called Breathe, releases October 23rd. So I think that's 2 weeks from today. And then I will be releasing a music video, and then another single called Knives. Love Like Knives will come out December 4th. And then I'm just kind of gonna coast into the new year and then release the album on January 22nd, I believe. Let me just, before I commit to that, yes, January 22nd.
So how can we find it?
I'm on Spotify. Well, I'm on Spotify. My music will be on Spotify as it comes out. And just everywhere that you can stream music. I have Facebook, Instagram, verabloom.net is my website. Just look up Vera Bloom and you should find me. And I'm really happy to connect with you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And I will add that to the show notes so that they can get in touch with you. And then will you share with us or give us a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want?
Yeah. Believe in yourself, even when you feel like you aren't believing in yourself. Just keep at it, chipping away. And I mean, like I said earlier with the musician thing, I think it applies to everyone. Find what lights a fire under your ass and just do it. Go for it.
All right. Awesome. And then how can we connect with you? I know you said verabloom.net. Is there any social media or anything you want to throw out?
Yeah, Instagram, and that both my Instagram and my Facebooks are Vera Bloom Music. And that's probably the best way. I'm pretty good at saying hi and answering my DMs and whatnot. So I'd love to hear from you. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vera. You've been a total badass and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Thank you, Maria. I really enjoyed it.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it. Okay, now it's time to rock out to a clip of Vera's new single, Breathe.
Falling out to sea, drowning in the stars, disconnecting from myself, still attached but feeling far. Falling out to sea, drowning in the stars, waves of panic come and go. Hold on to the safety of my breath, keep it close, keep it slow. Breathe in, breathe out.
Okay, if you love that as much as I did, make sure to download Vera's new single on Spotify or wherever you can stream music. Let's support a fellow badass. Until next week, keep being badass.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.